Let's listen as O.J. Simpson describes what he did on the night his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend Ronald Goldman were savagely murdered. Nicole, now 35 years old, made a decision that the unhealthy cycle between her and O.J. had to stop. On May 22nd, 3 weeks before her murder, Nicole returned an expensive birthday gift that O.J. had given her, telling friends, "I broke up with him. I finally feel free. I told him I can't be bought." On June 10th, she went property hunting in Malibu, hoping to put some distance between herself and the man who wouldn't let her go. 2 days later, she would be dead. You are about to hear O.J. Simpson talk about what he did on the day his ex-wife was murdered.
Let's talk about the day of June 12th, 1994.
Yeah.
Tell me about getting ready for your daughter's recital. Just take me through the day.
It was a long week. I had been to 3 or 4 cities that week. I was totally exhausted. My friends in New York tried to get me to stay in New York that Friday, play golf Saturday, and then go straight to Chicago where I had to be Monday morning. But my daughter was having a recital, and I had already missed, I think the week or 2 before, I was out of town, and I had missed something. I forget what it was, something that my daughter was having. So I couldn't miss this. So I said, I got to be there for the recital. And I flew into town, and I just wanted to go there, see my daughter, and leave. And I talked to Nicole briefly that day. She had called and asked if I could get there early and hold seats. And I said, I don't think so, which she did. And when we got to the recital, she had actually held me a seat with her and the 2 kids, right?
There was something that you write in the book about what Nicole was wearing.
Yeah, you know, it was almost like she was trying to be a teenager again. You know, dating all these much younger guys, wearing the shortest, tightest thing she was wearing. And sometimes you think something is inappropriate, but you don't say anything. What am I to say? Tell her what to do, you know?
So you're at the recital.
Yeah, I was just exhausted, but everything was cool. And during one of the breaks, Dr. Fishman pulled me aside, and Cora Fishman is Nicole's best friend. His my daughter's best friend to this day. And Dr. Fishman said, "Man, Juice, you won't believe what's going on. These girls," he is telling me that they had fights, and Nicole was nuts that week, right? I mean, it was like, what are these girls doing? I mean, it's just craziness, what they were saying. I said, man, get away from them. I tell you, these girls, whatever's going on is bad, you know? And this comes right after a week previous to this. Her best friend, Cora, had come to my house in tears, begging me to do something to get Nicole away from the people she was hanging around. Somehow the prosecution didn't want that in the case, right? I don't know. I was upset. It upset me.
The Brown family, Nicole's parents and sisters, were also at the recital, and there were plans for a family dinner afterwards at Mezzaluna, that local Italian restaurant. They recall O.J. asking to come along, but Nicole said no.
What kind of frame of mind are you in when you leave the recital?
I am tired.
Irritable?
I don't want to sleep. I'm irritable. When you get tired, you get irritable.
And you write about chipping golf balls into the neighbor's yard. You write, usually when I pick up golf balls, the world disappears, but this time I couldn't get her out of my head.
Yeah. I'm thinking about my kids and what Dr. Fishman mentioned to me.
What comes next is O.J.'s hypothetical account of what he says happened on the night of the murders. So, Judith, how did you shape this conversation around the hypothetical? Why hypothetical?
He felt that if he could claim that it was hypothetical at this point, he would have deniability with the children. That was what he said. But from my point of view, who would possibly do this, even as a hypothetical, unless they had committed the murders?
O.J. Simpson never took the stand at his criminal trial and has never given an interview about his actions on the night of the murders. That is, until now. Listen closely for the next 6 uninterrupted minutes. O.J. puts himself hypothetically at the scene of the crime.
The chapter 6, is called The Night in Question. And you write in the book, now picture this and keep in mind that this is
Purely hypothetical.
Hypothetical.
Yes.
Why don't you tell me what might have happened on the night of June 12th, 1994. And let's just walk through the night.
Well, first of all, this is very difficult for me to do this. It was very difficult for me because it's hypothetical. I know and I accept the fact that people are going to feel whatever way they're going to feel. They're going to, whatever they want to feel. In the book, the hypothetical is
Charlie.
Charlie. This guy Charlie shows up, the guy who I had recently become friends with, and I don't know why he had been by Nicole's house, but it told me you wouldn't believe what's going on over there. And I remember thinking, well, whatever's going on over there has got to stop, right? So we kind of hooked up together, and I'm kind of broad stroking this. We go over. Get in the Bronco and go over.
Let's just go back and do the details. Where did you park?
Do the detail.
You park
in the hypothetical in the alley.
Right. You park in the alley.
Yeah.
And you put on a wool cap and gloves.
In the hypothetical, I put on a cap and gloves.
Right. And you reached under the seat for
a knife. I always kept a knife in that car for the crazies and stuff because you can't travel with a gun. And I remember Charlie saying, "You ain't bringing that." And I didn't, right? But I believe he took it.
Charlie took the knife?
Yeah, in the book.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the back gate, you go through the back gate?
Yes.
And it was open or broken or?
I don't recall.
Okay.
I go to the front and I'm looking to see what's going on. And I can see that it appears like Nicole had candles all the time. She really did, to keep her overhead down, I think. And music was on, and while I was there, a guy shows up.
So Ron Goldman comes in the back gate.
Yeah, a guy that I really didn't recognize. I may have seen him around, but I really didn't recognize him to be anyone. And in the mood I was in, I started having words with him.
He says to you, "I just came by to return a pair of glasses. Judy left them at the restaurant."
Yeah, words to that effect, yes.
And
I don't know if I believed it or didn't believe it. It was pretty much immaterial because, I was more concerned about everything that was going on, and was fed up with it, I guess. And
you get into a fight. Nicole comes out.
A verbal
fight.
Got a little loud, and by that time, Nicole had come out, and we started having words about who is this guy, why is he here, what's going on.
And she says, "This is my house, get the F out of here."
Yes, and which I didn't like because, once again, this is the same person, and if you read the book, you'll see some things that happened in the 2 weeks leading up to this that were very, very irritating, and I think Charlie had followed this guy and wanted to make sure it was no problem. And he brought the knife. As things got heated, I just remember Nicole fell and hurt herself. And this guy kind of got into a karate thing. And I said, "Well, you think you can kick my ass?" And I remember I grabbed the knife. I do remember that portion, taking the knife from Charlie. And to be honest, after that, I don't remember. Except I'm standing there and there's all kind of stuff around and
What kind of stuff?
Blood and stuff around. I hate to say this, but this is hypothetical. I'm sorry. Right. I know we got to back up again.
Right. That's okay. I want to back up.
This is hard. This is hard.
I know. I want to back up to
try to make people think that I'm
I know. You wrote in the book, "I had never seen so much blood in my life." You're covered, the scene. Can you describe it?
It's hard for me to describe it, I'm telling you. I don't think any two people could be murdered the way they were without everybody being covered in blood. And of course, I think we've all seen the grisly pictures after. So, yeah, I think everything would have been covered in blood.
And what goes through your mind at a time like that?
I don't know. It's like, what happened?
You write about removing a glove before taking the knife from Charlie?
I had no conscious memory of doing that, but obviously I must have because they found the glove there.
And blacking out? Have you ever blacked out before?
Not to my knowledge.
No.
No, of course, if something like this would take place in anybody's life, if it were to happen, I would imagine it's something that you would probably automatically have trouble wrapping your mind around it. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible.
First thoughts. Eve, it's hard for you to even breathe. I've been watching you as you watch this.
I have nothing to say about this. Absolutely nothing.
Chris?
Well, I think he's confessed to murder. I think he's confessed to murder. And if I'd known he said this in 2006, I would not have objected to the release of his video. I don't think that there's any question of his involvement and that he is the person who is wielding the knife. I mean, he may try and describe it as a hypothetical, but of course, it becomes I did this. I felt this. I saw this. This notion of Charlie, I think Charlie is OJ. This is no hypothetical. This is reality.
Judith, who the heck is Charlie?
I don't know who Charlie is. I wanted him to talk. For me to start interrogating him and pushing him, I felt he would get more agitated, and he kept threatening to leave and not to finish the interview, and I really wanted him to stay.
Let's listen again to this disturbing portion of the interview.
I remember I grabbed a knife. I do remember that portion, taking a knife from Charlie. And to be honest, after that, I don't remember. Except I'm standing there and there's all kind of stuff around and
What kind of stuff?
blood and stuff around.
I think, and Eve, I'm sorry, but I do want to go through what the coroner says happened, because I think it's important to understand the specific details. It was not as he describes exactly. Nicole didn't fall. She was hit on the head with the handle of the knife, according to the coroner. She was stabbed 4 times in the neck as she lay on the ground. Ron Goldman arrived, runs towards her. He's grabbed by the killer, who jabs him in the face 5 times with a knife, and then slits his throat. He gets loose, but there's a perimeter fence, so he's blocked. And so the killer is able to catch him again and plunges a knife into his side, and he severs his abdominal artery. There are defensive wounds on his hand, so he was trying to protect himself. And the killer alternated between the victims, pulling Nicole's head by the hair and cutting very deeply into her throat, and then going back over to Ron Goldman, who, according to the coroner, was probably dead at that point, and stabbing him. Your office described it as overkill at the time. Those details, I think, matter because they go to the viciousness of what happened that night.
37 years in criminal law, I've never seen a crime scene as horrific as this one.
Do you think this is a confession, Judith?
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind. How he chose to do it is the way he chose to do it, but he did it. And that's his confession.
Here you are. You have it. He's telling you, I took off a glove. I must have left my glove there.
Let's listen again to the interview.
You write about removing a glove before taking the knife from Charlie.
I had no conscious memory of doing that, but obviously I must have because they found the glove there.
25 years of nonsense. And now here he is to explain to all of the naysayers and all of the doubters. That's my glove. I left it. Nobody planted it. Nobody planted it.
You sound furious about the last 25 years.
Well, she should be furious. Denise, Goldman's, they should be furious. I'm watching TV one day and I see Kanye West wearing a T-shirt that says "Free OJ." Well, you freed him. And look what you freed.